Are you black?
Yes, I consider myself black. I'm from a very mixed family in Jamaica. You know, I've come from a multi-ethnic family. I didn't realize I was black actually until I came to America because there is no racial
That'll do
category
it.
in Jamaica where I was considered a brown man until I came to America at the age of 20 and then suddenly was classified as black. So I have no problems classifying myself as black. But I didn't have a race. I didn't have a racial identity for the 20 years that I lived in Jamaica.
Really?
You
You
know,
so you were born and raised in Jamaica, and while growing up, you had no race.
no, in Jamaica, it's based on pigmentocracy. It's based on the visual connection between your skin color and a person's perception. So my father, who's extremely light skinned with green eyes, he was considered like a red man because his skin is as light as somebody who might be white.
Oh,
And my grandmother, who was part Jewish, part black, and part East Indian, her father was Jewish and her mother was Jamaican. She was considered a brown woman. So if you're black, it really means in Jamaica that your skin color is the color of tar. You know, they're all gradations. People are high brown or low brown or yellow or red. But there's no biological. The point I want to make is that there's no biological understanding of race
oh, okay.
in
That's
Jamaica.
amazing. So it must have been pretty shocking to you to find out you were black once you got to America, huh?
Well, I had studied American history very carefully, so I knew about the one drop rule, and still
That's
find it to be one
amazing.
of the most pernicious things that.
You have a book coming out February 2025, and your book is called Letter to God from a Former Atheist. Were you a Christian at one time, or have you always been an atheist?
No, I was quite a religious child when I was growing up. I became an atheist, I think, the year before I left America at the age of 19. I was studying a lot of philosophy and reading a lot of proofs against the existence of God. But I really think, Reverend, looking retrospectively back at my life, that when I became an atheist, a lot of that was forged in the crucibles of anger. That is, my father and my parents divorced when I was very young. So I was raised by a single mom and my grandmother, who sacrificed a great deal. But my father was, I don't know if he's schizophrenic or he's bipolar or what sort of mental disorder he has, but he abandoned our family and he certainly abandoned me. And there was a great deal of anger I felt towards God for taking away my father. My father told me quite early on, when I was about 12, that he would no longer be my father. He was going to serve the Lord. And he went up to the mountains, and his parents had left him some land there. And for 5 years, I never saw him. I think I cried every night for about 5 years for my father. And I had a conversion experience much later on, well, let me back up. I realized that atheism was just, after about 10 years of being an atheist and accomplishing all sorts of things, my PhD, five college degrees, including a PhD, writing all these books, there was a hollowness and there was an emptiness in my soul. And I remember saying, God, I don't think you exist, but if you exist, can you grant me grace so that I can start believing in you? And I started a process of rituals where I would walk with a crucifix, I would go into churches, and I would feel sometimes the presence of God, but it would leave me very quickly. And I still realized that atheism, I had to undo this atheism. It was like, imagine not having food for like a week and feeling that pang of hollowness in your stomach. That's what I felt in my soul. And it's really true that, if you are hungry, if your soul is hungry and thirsty for something, God will grant it to you, because I was granted grace and I had a conversion experience. So these letters are prayers and devotionals and prayers for other people who are suffering from addictions and suffering from all sorts of, maladies in their lives. And it's really an attempt to communicate with God, to apologize to God for my hubris and my arrogance during my atheistic years, and also a way of achieving intimacy with God. The letters are very, very intimate. I think readers, when they buy this book, will see what a soul that has been deprived of God looks like when it finally comes face to face with God.
Amazing. So did you forgive your parents, your father and your mother?
Well, my mother really hadn't. My mother was a strict mother, so it was more forgiveness towards my father for abandoning the family. My mother had no choice but to divorce my father because he was quite reckless in his spending and put my mother into a lot of debt. And nobody knew what was going on with him. People just assumed that he was reckless and he didn't seek psychiatric help. But I think I have come to the point where I understand what my father did, and I have forgiven him.
You say you have forgiven him?
I think I have, yes.
And have you told him that?
No, I have not.
And why not?
Because the timing isn't right, and because having conversations with him is a very, very difficult process. He has moments of lucidity where he sees things very clearly and perceives reality very clearly, and then he also has moments where he's psychotic. And in time, when God is ready for me to tell him that I've forgiven him, I will.
But God is ready for you to forgive him as soon as you realize that you resent him. And then that's when it's time to forgive. Why can't you catch him in those moments where he, I guess, is alert and forgive him so that God can forgive you?
That's a good question. We live in separate countries. I'm here taking care of my mom because she's sick with cancer, and he lives way up in the mountains. But, you are right. And as we're talking, you're sort of inspiring me to make the concerted effort to seek him out and to let him know that he's forgiven for abandoning his family, his children, not supporting them financially, not really being there for them emotionally. It's a terrible, terrible, especially on, I think, young men who are rejected and abandoned by their fathers. The scars and the wounds, well, the scars heal, the wounds heal, but, you bear those scars psychologically.
Well, once you go and forgive your father and your mother, then all scars would disappear and you will have a clear mind. But God cannot forgive you until you go and forgive them.
That's true. It is true.
And why haven't you forgiven your mother?
I have forgiven my mother for whatever. My mother was not perfect.
Did you tell her?
I've told her. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
You apologized to her for resenting her for the mistake she made with you?
I did. I have.
Oh, good.
But she's been such an incredible mother in other ways that, they're trade-offs. So I have a very close relationship with her. I'm here taking care of her in her illness. And she knows that whatever mistakes she made, as do all parents, that she's forgiven for them.
And what did she say when you went and said, hey, Mother, I'm sorry for resenting you for the things you've done to me? What did she say when you told her that?
I think in the past when I've said that, it's been quite a while. I think she just cried. She just cries or just...
She cried?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, they always cry. I have a new shirt that says, when she's crying, she's lying. Have you noticed that when women are crying, they're lying?
Sometimes.
Amazing.